Dear guests and colleagues, welcome everybody to the annual lecture of the Taubenschlag Institute of Criminal Law and the Minerva Center of Human Rights. Today we are privileged to be hosting a distinguished scholar whose work has profoundly influenced discourse on criminal justice, Professor David Sklansky. David Sklansky is the Stanley Morrison Professor of Law at Stanford, where he also serves as the faculty co-director of the Stanford Criminal Justice Program. He teaches and writes about criminal law, criminal procedure, and evidence. His scholarship has addressed, among other things, the law, sociology, and political science of policing, the relationship between criminal justice and democracy, the proper exercise of prosecutorial power, fairness and accuracy in criminal adjudication, the relationship between criminal justice and immigration laws, and the role of race, gender, and sexual orientation in law enforcement. Before joining the faculty of Stanford Law School, Sklansky taught at UC Berkeley and UCLA. In all these institutions, he has won teaching awards. Earlier, he practiced labor law in Washington, D.C. and served as an assistant United States attorney in Los Angeles. On a personal note, I vividly recall the profound impact of Professor Sklansky's early work on my own academic journey when I came to Harvard in the late 1990s and was very much interested in issues of equality and criminal justice system. My then supervisor and now a common friend of ours, Professor Carol Steiker, advised me to read Sklansky's Stanford Law Review article on cocaine, race, and equal protection. It was an amazing introduction for me to a deeper understanding of American criminal justice system and its troubled relations with race. It remains a very influential piece, and I still assign it to my students on the advanced criminal law seminar that I teach. I've been following Sklansky's scholarship since then, and especially took interest in his more recent reflections on criminal justice and democracy. The timing of today's lecture is particularly poignant. It was planned obviously before October 7th. Our worries then were mainly about the judicial overhaul and the danger it presented to our democratic system. The Law Professors Forum for Democracy, of which I am a proud member, identified several dangers that the governmental so-called reform plan presented in the area of criminal justice, among which are the infringement on legal and constitutional protections of defendants, suspects, and prisoners, and the abuse of criminal legislation and criminal law enforcement powers without effective judicial review. In an article that I wrote before the judicial overhaul plan, I identified democratic backsliding and the rise of populism as one of the main justifications to strengthening constitutional protections. In that article, I quoted Sklansky's work that goes as follows. If you think that the greatest threat to democracy today is a divisive form of populism that starts with the premise that only some people count, that only some people are part of the people, then you will be particularly worried about criminal justice policies that dehumanize criminal suspects, criminal defendants, and incarcerated people. You will be worried about policies that write all of these people out of the people who are supposed to rule. So then we were thinking of a speaker who will address criminal justice and the crisis of democracy, and we thought obviously of Professor Sklansky. That would be perfect, and he kindly agreed to come in December. That was the original plan. Then came October 7th, and obviously we needed to, and the war, and we needed to reschedule. Here we are. And despite the fact that now we have so many grave additional worries, the issue of criminal justice and democracy remains very relevant. Among the challenges that we are now facing in Israel regarding criminal justice are the crisis of incarceration, including overcrowding of prisons, repeating reports of maltreatments of Palestinian prisoners and detainees, the danger of politicization of the police and prison authority by an extremist nationalist minister, extensive arming of the population, I should say the Jewish population, by the same minister, police brutality and the use of criminal law enforcement to limit freedom of speech and protest against the government, particularly with regard to the Arab minority, and of course the skyrocketing violent crime rates in the Arab community and the different ways to deal with it. So Professor Sklansky's insight couldn't be more relevant in light of the current challenges facing Israel and many other nations worldwide. Professor Sklansky addressed promises to delve into not only how democratic crises impact criminal justice, but also how the design and operation of criminal justice systems can shape and uphold democratic values. Joining us are two wonderful commentators, Professor Mordechai Mota Kremnitzer from Hebrew University and the Israel Democracy Institute, and Dr. Manal Tutri-Jobran from Bar Ilan University, whose perspectives I am sure will further enrich our discussion. I extend my gratitude to all those who have contributed to organizing this event, especially Sharon Vered Shaked, the administrative manager of the Taubenschlag Institute of Criminal Law, and our co-sponsors, the Minerva Center for Human Rights. Before handing it over to Professor Sklansky, I would like to invite Professor Lior Bilski, the director of the Minerva Center.